Hey guys, it's deets23 and today I'm joined by a very special guest, actor Danielle Rayne. Danielle is the voice behind Vetra, your Turian squad mate in Mass Effect Andromeda. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, Ability Drain and GamerMD83 weren't able to join in, but they're with us in spirit. FYI, thank you so much for submitting your questions. Let's get to it. So I think one question that a lot of gamers usually want to know when it comes to voice actors is if they actually play video games as well.
I am not a gamer. I am actually working my way through the Mass Effect trilogy right now, really? Very slowly, very badly. So don't be looking at me for any multiplayer action unless you want your whole team to die. But yeah, no, it's something I've never really had time for, but I'm so fascinated by it. So what I love is the people who actually put their gameplay in videos online, and you know, Tom Taylorson put something about Twitch, and I opened it up and went, are you kidding me? All the video gaming right here, I could just watch it. So I'm kind of watching it. I'm living vicariously through everybody else's gaming experience.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome that you're giving it a try and seeing how it goes. A lot of people are really hesitant to even start playing video games if they've never done it before.
Yeah, because it's a whole different way of the way your hands, your thumbs, multiple things happening at the same time. I had the chance to do VR. One of my neighbors has this amazing virtual reality set, and he's an editor, so, you know, it's part of his work. And when I did that, and it was the full body experience, that was really something I could get into because I'm a really physical person. But, you know, just trying to sit there and do stuff with my hands, it was like, wow, I don't know, my brain is wired that way. You know?
Yeah. How was that VR experience? I've actually never done VR.
It was crazy. He's got, you know, the complete set that has, you know, the helmet that gives you the complete surround sound, as well as, you know, I'm spinning around in place and there's something to reach for, pick up, work with. Then there's the one where you're shooting the arrows. And the shooting the arrows was probably my favorite part. You're defending a tower, and it was absolutely incredible. I love it. I actually have like a little video footage of me doing it. And it was, you could just see, I'm like having a great time. And it's so physical too. I mean, I remember sweating. I like finished and I was like, wow, I'm sweating here. You know, there's just so much to do.
Yeah, that's the good thing about VR. I think that, you know, it'll get a lot of gamers up and moving.
Totally.
Yeah. So I have a question from Twitter from Eric Vicarian. What did you know about the Mass Effect universe prior to the voiceover offer?
Nothing. I knew the name.
Nothing.
I knew the name of the trilogy. I'd heard about it. But I did not know anything about it. And in that case, it's Caroline Livingstone and Cheryl Chee were on the line with me when they told me who I was playing and in what game. And they gave me a little of my backstory, my background, and things like that. But, you know, it's like, you know, just clobber me over the head right now because there's like so much information. And I just kind of jot notes as fast as I can. So as soon as I go home, I start Googling and searching and, well, what does Nyreen look like and all this sort of stuff. It's a great experience for someone who, you know, hasn't actually done games to be taught. You know, you're basically being coached right from the get-go to learn how this whole game is working. And most importantly, it's like, who are you and what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? What's your mission? I loved it.
What's it like working with Caroline Livingstone and Josh Dean?
Oh my God. You know, they've probably spoiled me for the rest of my voiceover career because they're such good people and they were so much fun. Caroline was she was so helpful and patient and, you know, walking me through each of the nuances, what I needed to know to play this part. And I worked with her probably a couple sessions, and Josh Dean maybe like 4 or 5 sessions. I remember he was at quite a good number of them, and I learned so much from watching him work. And I could actually see as I would say the line, and sometimes there were lines that we were all kind of confused. What does this mean? I don't know. But I could see his mind working. You know, how would he say it? What's the real? And I could just see it. He was fantastic at direction. He also called it, this is my favorite term, the cold reading Olympics, because you have never seen the script before. You don't know your lines. It just flashes up on a screen and there you go.
So when did you finally see what Vetra would look like? Did you see that before you started recording or after?
No, They did show me a few sketches, but they weren't, specifically of my character yet. And then it wasn't until we were, deep into my sessions that I finally got to get a glimpse of what she looked like, and then, see her with my voice attached. It's like one of the most exciting moments, for an actor to kind of see it coming to fruition.
Yeah.
It was really incredible. I was like this giddy kid every time they'd show me a little clip of something that, brought it all together.
That's awesome. Frida and Tom already knew each other prior to Andromeda. So we were wondering, did you know any of the other actors that were cast personally before this, or did you meet them?
No, and you rarely, in my personal experience, I never met anyone except for Judy, our amazing engineer. She was there probably, 90% of my sessions. Besides her, you'd often get your direction through a headset because it was coming from Canada if Josh didn't happen to be the person directing you that day. So you would hear it through your headset. So there was very little contact with other people. And I never even got to meet any of the other actors until the very last day, Yeah.
That must have been a reunion.
It's like all these people you've been listening to for, months and months, and then you finally get to meet them. I was saying with Tom Taylorson, it's like, I had to hug him, even though it was the first time meeting him, because, I'd heard his voice in my ears for so long, and, it's just so great to get to meet him.
Yeah. Did you have any idea how massive BioWare and Mass Effect Andromeda was, like, in the gaming community? Because you've received a huge response. You have so many Vetra fans already.
Yeah, I think the Vetra fans were going to be there, whether it was me or somebody else doing the voicing, because, I completely get how Garrus was so incredible in the first trilogy, and then the idea of having a female Turian was, mind-blowing, and just the way Cheryl Chi had written her, she was going to be huge and a success no matter who got to do the voice. I'm just the lucky stiff, who they happen to pick. Of course I'd heard of, BioWare and EA and knew all these, names, but it's really not until I'm sorry, that's my dog. If you hear that, I apologize. It's really not until you start kind of doing the research and then living the experience, when you just it's part of your daily, now my Twitter feed, there's so much stuff that happens, and that's when the magnitude of it really starts to hit you.
Yeah. I love all that artwork that's being sent your way.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah. It is absolutely amazing. And I just do random searches sometimes to see, what kind of Vetra art is going out there. And I am so impressed by the talent. I love reposting it. I put together my own little Tumblr that I reblog any Vetra art that I see. I grew up, my dad was a photographer and my mom was a painter. And so, the museums were a normal part of our life. So I love art, and I love people expressing, their excitement over the franchise with their art.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
That's the great thing about video games too. People get so inspired, and it's just a lot of creativity and the community just getting together, doing things.
Yeah.
So since you're playing the trilogy right now, how familiar at this point are you with Garrus and how Vetra differs from him?
I've got Mass Effect 1 that I'm working slowly through, and actually what I do is I make my husband actually play through, because I'll start it and then I'll start to panic because nothing's, I'm not moving fast enough and I'm going to die, without getting anything accomplished. So I just hand it to him. And then every time it's like the dialogue wheel comes up, I go, hit that one. Now I want to see that one. Now go through this one. So he's super patient. He's great that way. So he's actually my gamer tutor, and he's playing Garrus for me as one of his crew. And I love him. I mean, I get the differences. He's very noble. He's very honorable and very noble. And I think that's kind of where we differ. Maybe it's Vetra's drifter mercenary background that makes her not quite as, polished as he is. He's amazing. He's great. He's who I would pick on my squad anyway. Yeah, or tell my husband to put on his squad.
He's also a big romance option, just like everyone wants to romance Vetra right now. I don't know if it's a Turian thing.
We haven't gotten that far yet, but I'm hoping at some point that I'll be able to look up some videos with that. It's not happened yet, but I'm going to find the time. I will.
Here's a question from Taylor McKay. He asks, who do you think would win in a fight, Garrus or Vetra?
Well, okay, I thought about this because I looked at that and kind of panicked. But I don't think Garrus would fight Vetra without a really good reason. He's too honorable.
That's true. Yeah.
She's a scrapper. I'm going to say that. She's a scrapper. I don't know who would actually win. I think that he would probably say, there's really no reason for us to be battling like this.
Yeah.
I just don't think he would do it. But, in a battle, it would be tough. It would be a good one to watch.
Yeah.
Who do you think?
Well, I don't know. I have to see Vetra in action first.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. I have a feeling Vetra. I do. As much as people will kill me over saying that, I do think Vetra could kick some butt.
Yeah.
How hard was it not telling anyone about your role in Mass Effect Andromeda?
Oh, it was brutal. I mean, it's part of your NDA though. I mean, you just got to do it. Yeah. You just got to do it. And luckily, it's not like as an actor, you're not out there hanging every day with gamers. That would be really tough if that was what you did. If you spent a lot more time with gamers, it would be really hard. But it's another acting gig, and it's just one that I couldn't talk about.
Now, you said your husband was playing with you. Does he play games?
We did when we first started dating, and I used to play fighter games with him. It was one of the few things that I could do. He was, and I've gotten him games throughout the years. We always have had consoles. We have every console now. We're getting duplicates of the PS4 consoles and stuff like that in the house. So he's kind of been, but it is a matter of how much time do you have. Yeah. And then we get hooked on TV shows like Game of Thrones or the OA or things like that, where just all of a sudden you're binge watching TV shows, and that time gets eaten away a little bit. That's why I like to live vicariously through everybody else's gaming experience. And I hope people will let me know if they're gaming with Vetra so that I can watch their videos.
Oh, I'm sure everyone's going to be sending you messages and pictures.
They better.
Oh, you mentioned the OA. I'm curious. What did you think of that?
I loved it. I'm looking for something else to watch now that's like it. I hear The Magicians is good. Haven't started that one yet. But yeah, no, it was fantastic. We went through it probably, 8 days back to back to catch all the episodes, but it was really great. Yeah. Did you like it? Did you see it?
That ending was, it just hit me really hard. At first I was a little bit weirded out by the dancing, but then I don't know, it was, once it all tied together, it was a pretty amazing ending.
Yeah, and you know why the dancing got sold to me? Because of their commitment to it. The actors so committed, and in that last moment, when they're, I don't want to any spoilers, but yeah, when they're using the dance for a really important purpose, they sold it. They're so good, the actors in that cast. Yeah, I loved it, and I'm so amazed, that they wrote that whole project, Britt Marling, and they direct and everything. It's just. Wow, talk about creating your own content. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Did you always want to be an actor? How did that come to fruition?
You know what? I think I always played around with performing and things like that. I did at one point want to be an Olympic equestrian, but that requires a lot of money. Wasn't really, sure. Didn't know that was kind of an issue. But high school drama teacher. cast me as the lead in a couple of plays, and the bug bit.
Yeah.
And that was it. And that, drove me. So, all hail teachers, because, she's the one who got me doing what I do. And I'm like one of the luckiest people, I feel, because I do something I absolutely love for a living.
Yeah. That kind of inspiration that teachers give, especially in the arts, is kind of incredible. Those creative arts teachers and things like that when I was young, they really got me through a lot. It's just, they fuel you for the future, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So that was it. I moved to New York and I started acting, and was able to piece together a living, and then decided to come out to LA to try pilot season, which is something almost every actor eventually decides they're going to try and do. And that's when I met my husband, who was a stuntman, and just ended up never going back to New York. And I'm really glad. I mean, I got an awesome life out here, and he's a great guy, and we've got a great life. So it was a good choice. It was a good move. It wasn't expected. Yeah. But I'm really glad to be out here and everything that's since happened.
How long have you been here in LA?
A long time. It feels like a long time. Long enough that I've, had a couple different, long-term jobs. Like I was up at, you're in California, right? Yeah, so, Universal Studios Hollywood?
Yes.
Okay. So I met my husband, and he was a stuntman and performing up there. And I met him through my first roommate, who used to work in some shows with him. And that's how I ended up becoming Sarah Connor in the Terminator 2 show that they had up here at Universal Studios. And I was able to do that for a long time. And I think that was like the beginning of my true badass training. Yeah.
What kind of training did you do for that?
Well, we went through a boot camp, and I know that somebody had asked about the dog tags. That was one of the questions that had come up. So the dog tags, when I got cast in the Terminator show, they actually made us do a couple of different boot camps, one of which was with Captain Deley, who's retired U.S. Marine Corps. Oh, wow. And his job is to take actors and basically turn a bunch of wussy actors into tough soldier types, as best he can. But it's like the toughest training. Like if you've ever done any kind of like boot camp exercise program, a really good trainer will push you harder than you could possibly imagine. Yet at the end of the day, as much as you hurt, you feel good about yourself. Yeah. And he's got that like magical ability. He's really good at that, Captain Dye. And so we did training up at the LA Police Academy. They have obstacle courses and rifle ranges, and we were up there for 3 days doing this boot camp all day, and it was intense.
It sounds
I was a runner, I work out, but I have never felt that kind of, pain through my body. And look, because of little things like you leave your sweatshirt on the rifle range, and that's 25 more push-ups.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just for leaving your sweatshirt somewhere on the ground in between exercises, right? Yeah. So those were the kind of things. That's why then all of a sudden it's like, oh, why can't I brush my hair? My arms hurt so bad.
And you did weapon training as well.
Yeah, because we had to be, as you can imagine, in California, it's pretty hard to get a machine gun permit. And they make you go through intensive training, and the Department of Justice, clears you and everything. But to do that, you have to have incredible training, as you should, to handle a machine gun in a crowd of 700 audience members, right? So we had this training, learning the basics of safety with the weapon. I mean, how many people grab a gun the first time and stick their finger right on the trigger? That would get you 50 push-ups if you did that.
Oh my God, who does that?
There was one girl who's an amazing stunt woman, and I'm never going to call myself a stunt woman because what they do is incredible. But she was so excited, she stuck her finger right on that trigger, and don't you know she had to do 50 push-ups, Yeah, it was intense. But, learning everything, including how to completely take apart the weapon, clean it, reassemble it.
Wow.
Because you had to do that as part of, you did 10 shows a day, and you had to do, field cleanings and then complete cleanings, stripping the weapon down at the end of the day. So you had to have a lot of training in that. And then you had to have, really good physical fitness, because every show started with climbing 6 flights of stairs and then running around the theater, and because you started the show with a 40-foot rappel, a free rappel.
Oh, wow.
So you had to be in good shape and be really good with the weapon and super responsible. That was where the boot camp training came in. You could not be, a sissy girl. That's for sure. They were not going to have that. And it was a great thing. It was an incredible opportunity to learn and get in touch with that inner badass. I was a full-time Sarah from the get-go. So I did 5 days a week. I mean, the great thing about the job was, well, there are a bunch of great things. I mean, you met incredible people, great connections. But then you could, if you got an audition or you got a job, you'd simply call one of the Sarahs, below you on the roster and ask them if they wanted to work. And you could give away shifts, days, months if you got a movie, and know that when you came back, you still had a job to go to. And that's one of the things when you're starting out in a new city like Los Angeles. Some people are very lucky, and I'm sure they walk into great paying jobs that are very consistent, but others of us need some sort of a survival gig.
Yeah.
So Universal Studios was amazing for the fact that, now you're working with all of these people who somewhere down the road might go, oh, you're looking for a Sarah Connor type. Oh, I've got some. Let me send them your way, and that could be your next gig.
That's awesome. What has been your most rewarding experience on screen or doing voiceover?
They all have their absolute special charm. I mean, the doing the Hawaii Five-0 episode where I was the girlfriend of a mobster who'd holed up on an island. He was actually played by James Burns, who is Woods from Call of Duty.
Oh.
So I spent 12 days in Waikiki shooting this part. And I was his girlfriend, Vicki Kelly, and, we're living this amazing lifestyle for 4 years on an island when McGarrett and his new girlfriend, Lynn, go on a date on the same island we're holed up on. And, I mean, how amazing is it that, I'm sitting on a little boat, the Zodiac, and I've just been taught how to, work this Zodiac. I don't have much boating experience, so I've learned how to do this. I'm sitting there in the rain, waiting for my cue to start it up and, bring it into shore. And I'm there by myself with just a little radio. And this giant sea turtle just raises its head out of the water and kind of snaps his mouth at me and then goes away. And, as an actor, that's like one of those moments going, this is really incredible. Did I have any idea that things like this would happen to me in my career, and just being able to play in the water before or after shooting. And I happen to have a couple of girlfriends who just happened to be in Waikiki at the same time for a conference. So we'd all be swimming in the ocean and talking and catching up because we hadn't seen each other for a while. And, those are the kind of experiences as an actor. I've got so many like that, but that sticks out. I really had a great time doing that. And then when I got to do the Portal short for Dan Trachtenberg, that was an incredible experience. Just to, it was my first time having being turned into 3D art, having to experience the whole thing with all the special effects that went into it, seeing what happened in the course of the year and a half from the time that we shot it till it was released at Comic-Con. Seeing things like that, you learn a lot. I had no idea what it took to create a sci-fi short film like that with really good, effects.
Yeah, and I bet you that boot camp. Did you do that before or after the?
After, because my John Connor, one of my first John Connors, in fact, I think he was my original one, became a stunt coordinator, and he knew Dan Trachtenberg. So when Dan said, I really see this character being, kind of like a Sarah Connor, and Keith was like, oh, I cast the ladies for you. And he sent a group of us over to audition for it.
That's awesome. Oh my God. What a small world.
That's why, like a place like Universal, where you get to meet people and make contacts, you never know how that's going to turn out. One of my greatest jobs has been as a spokesperson for a cruise line. And it just so happened to be that I did have some hosting experience, and the guy who was the head of entertainment, his partner happened to work for a cruise line who was looking for a spokesperson. So I got to do that. I got to travel and go on cruise ships and see Europe and and Alaska and all kinds of places I probably wouldn't have seen if it wasn't for that gig.
Yeah. Ada Erica asks, how did you get the job as Vetra? Any funny stories?
Well, one of the things, as a voice actor doing video games, sometimes you have no idea what the video game is. You just get the scripts emailed to you from your agent, and you pick the characters you feel like you can do and record them at home and send them in. In this particular case, the script was really, to me, well written. I thought it was, like something I would prepare for a TV show or a movie. So I actually worked on it with my husband. He's awesome in all kinds of arenas, and he read it with me, and then I recorded it. But there was a lot of depth in it, which you don't usually expect. Most of the time your video games are, shouting out things like "get down," things like that. But in this particular case, it had a lot of depth. So I recorded it, and I just remember feeling like, the part was much more interesting than most of the video games I've done. But then you promptly forget about it, because then you have to go on to the next one. And in this whole business of acting, you're told no so many more times than you're told yes, that if you hang on to these things too long, it will make you insane. So you need to just let it go. You record the audition, you send it in, you don't hear anything, or, and in this particular case, I sent my audition in July of 2015, and I didn't find out until June of 2016 that I had gotten the part.
That is a long wait.
Totally. I mean, my audition sat, somewhere until it was opened by Caroline and listened to, and, I don't know how that whole process goes, how she, but imagine, she had to have gotten thousands of submissions for a part like that. Every actor who has a voiceover agent, got that across their email. Here's some auditions for this thing called, and they have a code name, and you just do it. So yeah, it took a long time to find out that I had gotten it, and then, when you get it, it's just told to you by the code name. Your agent says, okay, you booked this and it's this code name, and you just show up that morning, and then that's when they start telling you, well, congratulations and welcome to Mass Effect Andromeda. And mind is officially blown, and you just kind of freak out inside and try to listen as best you can, while at the same time your whole internal person is just like jumping up and down and singing and dancing, and
Now, did you have an eye on any other character, or did you always know you wanted to audition for Vetra?
It wasn't even Vetra when it came across in the audition. They didn't use, her name. They had a different name. It didn't specify that you were a different kind, what kind of species you were or anything like that. It literally just came across like, hey, here's a character. I see, she's a soldier, but yeah, she's, got some other stuff going on in her life. And, so it was a complex part, but at the same time, it's like Sarah Connor. Yeah, she's trying to save the future, but she's also trying to save her son, so it had that complexity, which I think is what makes any character really more interesting.
Yeah. So Zena PL asks, is Vetra your alter ego? Did you need more time to get used to the role, or did it already suit your personality?
It totally suited my personality. We actors talk about stuff called wheelhouse. There are certain parts that are right in your wheelhouse, and then there are others that you kind of have to work for, or find, the justification. How is she like me and how is she not? What can I bring to it? But then there are certain characters that are just totally within your wheelhouse. And that was Vetra for me. I just, took to her automatically, and I fell in love with her instantly. It's like, oh God, this is the best. How lucky am I?
Was there any room for ad-libbing during the recording?
No, there wasn't. And I'm an ad-libber. Oh, yeah. It's one of the things that, like in commercial auditions, you you might finish it and just throw a little funny tag at the end and stuff like that. And anything, you tend to do a little improv, and I love it, but you cannot improv with video games because it has to match the animation.
Yeah.
And they may already have that underway, and you can't throw that. The poor developer's job is now to try and work around your ad libs. So you really do have to stick exactly to the script.
Yeah. Did you ever catch yourself wanting to ad lib?
Oh yeah, I accidentally did it a couple times. I went, okay, I'll do that again. I'm really sorry. It just slipped out. Uncontrollable.
At Tom J.E. asks, did you know in advance what your voice sounded like with the post-processing effect? Did that impact your performance?
The only impact that it had was that it tends to slow down your speech a little bit. I think it's called a flange, is what they put over it. So I had to just keep the pace going a little quicker because to make up for the slowdown a little bit. That was pretty much it. I just had to really watch my pacing and make sure I didn't do anything slowly because it would then be too slow. Yeah. Nobody has time to listen to Vetra talk that slow.
What was your first role as an actor?
My first role? It was probably, you mean like in like high school or college? Because I would think of high school, and I did Fiona in Brigadoon. I did a French farce called A Gown for His Mistress. My first one on camera that was a nice role was playing Alice on All My Children. It was a show that probably a lot of people don't even know because it's now off the air. But when I first came out to New York City, it just so turned out that a friend of my dad's, his babysitter, had grown up to become the casting assistant at All My Children. So she was like, yeah, I'll see her, no problem. And I got in, and I got to meet everybody, and they threw me a part. And so I did that for a little while, and I was still doing it when I came out here, so I had to leave that behind. But that was really fun. It was really fun. Soap operas were cool. I mean, they're very few of them. There's a handful out here now, and I've worked on a couple of them out here. But that was probably one of the first things that I did.
And your first voiceover job, was that World of Warcraft?
Yeah, it was. Totally green, knew nothing, just always had wanted to try voiceovers. And I had a friend who was also worked with me at Universal Studios, Therese McLaughlin, and she had been working on the World of Warcraft and knew the casting director very well. So she introduced me to Bridget Burdine. And so I went in and auditioned and had no idea what I was doing. I'm like, okay, I'll just use some Shakespeare experience from college and try to do that with this character. And I got the part. So it's definitely not my greatest work, but they threw me in, and I just was treading water, trying to survive here, just trying it. So that was a lot of fun. I had a great time doing it. But this has definitely been a lot more in depth. And I've done commercials, and I've done some narration and things like that. But this is by far, because I did 11 sessions as the character. So you really see her developing with time. And then by the time you're in on your 4th or 5th session, it's like, I know this character. I know her. Bring it. Come on, let's do this.
Well, I know from speaking to Frida that a lot of voiceover actors do multiple recordings for different characters, even if it's just like a general character. Do you also do that as well, or?
No, that has not happened for me yet. I just did, Vetra. That was it on this show. I haven't done, this is only my second video game, really. I did do a couple characters on that World of Warcraft. There was Lady Sinestra and Lady Death Whisper, and but I don't think there were that many.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something I aspire to. But even just hearing what Frida can do. Did you listen to that little short excerpt from the audiobook that Tom directed and Frida is narrating.
Oh, I haven't yet. I didn't know Tom directed that, really.
Yeah, so I listened to this and I hear her going into Sloane's part, and I'm like, and she dropped right into that voice, and I was like, man, that's a dead ringer for the actress who's doing Sloane. So you can hear how some people really have that ear for mimicry, and they can voice match. So I can really hear that that's a skill that Frida has, and you have to have a really exceptional ear to be able to match. I've tried. It's really challenging, but she's amazing at that.
Do you prefer on-screen work over voiceover work, or are you now leaning more towards voiceover after being Vetra?
Yeah, you know what? I have to say I absolutely love them both. I mean, what's not to love about, working on a TV show or working on a movie? I mean, there are definitely things that make voiceover a lot easier, like you're not having to worry about the continuity of, oh, okay, which hand was crossed over which arm when I did this take, because now it needs to match. There's you just are focusing on, what is my character feeling and how are these words like pouring this emotion out of me, and not having to think about stuff like, am I cheating enough to the light? Is the camera going to be able to catch me right here? You don't have to worry about those things. So it is kind of a really nice focused performance, as opposed to all the things you have to think about when you're on camera as a character.
Have you seen that video going around about Hugh Jackman doing voiceover for Logan? Oh, I think it was...
No.
I think it was Logan or a previous Wolverine movie, but you have to watch it. I wanted to ask you if when you do voiceover work, if you use your whole body or if you just... I do. I'm like shuddering right now, just having to tell you the truth. But yeah, I do. Maybe because I'm such a physical actor. And, I see people nicely sitting on their chair and doing all of their pieces, and I'm standing and I'm wondering why my legs are so tired at the end of a 4-hour session. But yeah, if they tell me I'm hanging on to something for dear life, I'm hanging on to it, and my arms are tense, and then they'll say something like, we can hear your headset shaking. Oh, sorry. Okay, my bad. Yeah. You have to watch that video. It's so good. He really
I will.
gets into it. It's like he's actually just in the movie doing it.
Oh, that's funny. No, I really want to see that. If I can't find it, I'm going to ask you to shoot me that link.
Will, for sure. What would be your advice to someone who wanted to become an actor?
A regular all-around actor?
Yeah.
Obviously, you want some training. I don't think it's necessary to go to a 4-year college or something like that, but you really want to devote yourself to some training. That kind of confidence, you can't just show up on a set and just wing it. You need to have some training. So I would totally believe in training, and I would also say, you need to have something that can get you until you're working. Whether it's a survival job that is flexible enough, but you still enjoy it so that you don't burn out on your survival job and then give up on your dream. That's where something like, for me, it was Universal Studios, because I still was performing every day. And it gave me the flexibility to pursue what I wanted to do, yet at the same time, it still kept feeding, the actor in me that I was performing every single day. So finding something so that you can actually, get by, because that's one of the hardest things. That's why so many people end up quitting, is they can't figure out some way to, get themselves to that point where they can make that living from acting. So they get frustrated and they leave, and I'm sure that happens to a lot of people. So those would be the two things: training and know what you're going to be able to do to get by.
Did you have like a fallback career just in case acting didn't work?
I did not.
No?
I did not. No, I sure didn't. There was just absolutely nothing I wanted quite like that. Sure, there are a couple times where you've gone months now without a job, and you're starting to think, well, what else can I do with my life? And you start trying to figure out, is there something else you want to do? But usually about that time, the universe jumps in and goes, no, we're not ready for that. And they get you a job, and you're back to, okay, I can do this. All right, let's go. It is. It's also that they could talk about perseverance and persistence as an actor. It's that thing that just keeps getting you through those rough times, because in everybody's career, you're not always going to be working. There's going to be stretches where maybe it slows down for you until the next one comes up. And what's going to get you through that? That's what persistence and perseverance, I think, really boils down to.
And your parents were pretty supportive, right? Because they were creative as well.
Yeah, they were. My dad wanted me to be a lawyer.
Oh,
He's
really?
like, it's just like acting, but you get a consistent living. I'm like, well, it's not just like acting, Dad. I'd rather play a lawyer on a TV show than actually be a lawyer, But they were always really supportive, and have since actually moved out to California. They were living in New Jersey and then Florida. And so it's really great to have them here. I mean, nobody is a bigger fan, than I guess your parents, but they're really a amazing couple. I'm so lucky that they're close by and we're all really close.
Yeah.
My husband and my dad play golf together, so it's like, they're buds.
How are you liking Los Angeles in terms of how packed it is? I mean, you came from New York, so it wasn't that big of a change for you, or?
Oh, it's like wide open spaces
really?
Compared to New York. Yeah, no, I lived in a 4-story walk-up apartment in Manhattan, and it was considered like a find. It was fantastic, but it was cramped. It was a railroad apartment where all the rooms are just on one like long string, with one little hall that connects everything. And I came out here, and my first place that I was living in was a house that I got a room in, with 3 other guys, one of which was somebody who worked at Universal Studios, which is how I met my husband. And the difference between I have my own room in a house with a pool in the backyard, and I can walk around places that have green grass, and I don't have to go all the way to the park to see trees, which I always lived between like Central Park and Riverside when I lived in Manhattan, just because I was a runner and I needed those parks and everything. But here there are trees everywhere, and I absolutely love it out here. We have a house now, and I actually live in this cute little tiny neighborhood that's zoned for horses.
Oh.
So I have a horse, and he lives in the backyard.
Oh.
So I got 2 dogs and a horse, and I feel like I live on a little tiny ranch, but I'm still able to do what I love because I'm right down the street from the studios and everything at the same time.
How long have you been riding horses?
Since I was a kid. That was probably the first, about 4 years old, when they put me up on a big gray farm horse for a picture. And I just was a horse crazy from that second. And so I always had been, and I even tried like riding in Manhattan and Central Park, and it just wasn't really working out for me. When I came out here, the stunt shows, there was one that had a horse in it. And my husband was good friends with these people who had horses, and I got back into riding and started riding up in Griffith Park and went, oh, okay, no, I could never go back to New York after this. Now that I've experienced this, that I can combine what I love doing with one of my favorite hobbies of all time, which is riding horses.
Yeah, horses are so beautiful.
Oh, yeah, mine is gorgeous. Don't tell him that. He knows it.
What's
a bit of an ego issue.
What's his name?
His name is Maverick. His registered name is Champagne Finale. He comes from a really fancy background. But he's just my trail horse, and we ride up in the hills in Griffith Park, and I'll probably go do that this afternoon, which is looking like it's still a nice day out there. And that's like one of the best things is just, to plug into something that's not acting, if it's, been a tough day, or you get that disappointment of something you wanted and you didn't get. It's really nice to have something that it's divorced from acting, and you just, enjoy your life.
Yeah.
That's like one of the keys is, do you have stuff that really makes you enjoy and appreciate your life?
Were you originally from New York, or did you move there as well?
I was born, my parents met on a blind date in Manhattan. So yeah, I was born in New Jersey, actually right across the river from Manhattan. But I lived in St. Louis when I was going to school. My dad got a job there. So that's where I learned how to ride horses, was in St. Louis. But then they moved back to New Jersey, and then I went to New York for a little bit and then came out here.
Realistically, which characters from the original trilogy do you think Vetra would romance? What about you?
Oh, wow. From the original trilogy, like I said, haven't gotten my way all the way through there. I actually did spend some time on character creation in Mass Effect 2. Because tell me something. So can you do that same character creation in Mass Effect 1, or did that just come out in Mass Effect 2?
You could do it in 1 as well, yeah.
Okay, because I must have skipped past that point because I was so busy trying to jump into the game. But I actually was like playing around with the character creation. But I really do, I like Miranda. I like watching any scenes that I've seen with her. Amazing. I love Jennifer Hale's voice and her acting. So anything with FemShep, it's just fantastic. So yeah, I'm playing as FemShep with my husband is, with Garrus, and at this point, I think it's Ashley. But it'd be really hard for me to say who I would romance. The more there's something lovable about each character so far that I've played and watched scenes with. I can see where each one, is kind of like Talia is so sexy, every character has something really, really special, and that's just what Mass Effect does so well is they create such a diversity of characters and offer something for everyone. That's why I'm so excited to be part of this. This universe.
It's just a rich experience, and I'm really interested in seeing, because I know Andromeda has way more lines than the previous games. So
yeah,
that should build on the characters even more. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm. When I saw that comment about how the character with the least amount of lines has more than, what was it, like the character with the most lines or something like that, that was pretty amazing. They've really created an enormous multiverse for people, and I'm really excited to see it. Watching, I don't care about spoilers because I'll be lucky if I ever get past the first battle. So I watch everything that they're putting out there, and I love the people who say it's overwhelming. It's so huge. Well, great. You're getting your money's worth. I hope people get that. If it's overwhelming and it's huge, that means, you're going to get whatever you paid for it. You can be playing this for how long? You'll be able to go all these different places and play in so many different ways. Single player, multiplayer, just exploration. What are you trying to conquer? What are you trying to do? I like that. I like that a lot.
Shauna Seeger asks, stupid question, but what kind of music do you think Vetra would like? Better question, what's your favorite part about her character?
What kind of music? Let me think about that. I mean, Vetra's me, so she listens to what I listen to, which can be anything from like Muse. I actually had that song Human. I actually have that on my, in my new Danny tunes, that I listen to all the time. In terms of, what was the second part of the question?
What's your
about
favorite
Vetra?
part about her character?
I don't want to give anything away, so how do I say this? I really love her backstory, and I won't say anything more than that because people need to find out what it is. But I love that, she's a badass, but she has a deep backstory.
Yeah. Who in game would you kiss, marry, avoid?
Well, I'm not going to answer that because people will, I've learned that if I, Danielle, like a piece of Vetra art and share it, then out on Twitter, people can be going, she must be this because she retweeted this. And I'm like, no. That just means I liked it. It doesn't mean that, yeah, you're on target or no, you're not. And I'm afraid if I answer a question like that, it will just, feel like spoilers, or somebody will interpret it as, that this is the word of Vetra and now let it be known,
Yeah.
Gotta be careful. I am still under an NDA and I'm not supposed to disclose anything other than the fact that I am playing Vetra in Mass Effect.
So we usually always end these interviews with a quick fire.
Okay.
Just answer as quickly as you can.
All right, taking a drink of water. Okay, and go.
Favorite song?
It's called, Rescue. Oh, God, I can't remember the name. I just panicked. Okay. Yeah. Rescue.
Favorite band musician?
Favorite band musician? Well, one of my favorite bands is AWOL Nation. I love the lead singer of that, but I also love Muse. Okay, yeah, I've just done two. Wait, two bands.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs. Sorry, love cats, but dogs.
Favorite genre?
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi, good choice. Favorite
Yeah.
book?
I'm going to reach all the way back to one of the first sci-fis that I read that really shaped me, and it's by Heinlein, and it's Friday. You ever read that one?
No, I haven't.
It's a female protagonist.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really great.
Favorite TV show?
Man, it's between Westworld and Game of Thrones right now. I love them both. Yeah.
Sun, rain, or snow?
Sun.
Favorite game? I guess since you're not a gamer, do you do any tabletop games?
I like ping pong. Yeah, we got a table tennis in the garage. I just love it. Yeah.
Call or text?
Text. Yeah. I want to say call because I love to hear people's voices, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, no, I'm a texter.
And who's your favorite Turian?
Vetra, of course. I'm not going to betray my girl.
Well, Danielle, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I know you're probably super busy, and we can't wait to see you as Vetra in Andromeda. It's amazing what BioWare does, and I'm so glad that you're a part of it.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your support. You've been amazing, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to follow Danielle on Twitter at Danielle Rayne, and keep your eye out for a movie called 100 Yards featuring Danielle and the face of Scott Ryder, Stephen Brewis. See you guys later. Bye.